So it occurred to me the other day that I have never featured this Zerg player before on the YouTube channel, which is a little bit ridiculous because the man has been making a name for himself over the last couple of years. To the point right now where, according to LowkoTV, he's considered to be one of the highest ranked non-Korean Zerg players in the world. So spawning here in the top right hand corner of 2000 atmospheres, that's going to be map number 1 in today's best of 3 series. Playing with the red Zerg drones from Russia, we're looking at Vanya's main hatchery. So according to LowkoTV, as far as the rankings go, currently in the number 1 position for non-Korean Zergs, there's Serral, then there's Raynor, Lembo, Elazer, Vanya, Scarlet, and Bly. Now obviously I've casted many games featuring Scarlet and Bly. For some reason, I've never featured Vanya before, which is, yeah, a little bit silly. Anyways, his opponent in the opposite corner, playing with the blue Terran SCVs, likewise also from Russia, we're looking at MilkiCow's main command center. Now, I featured MilkiCow against Battlebee. I think this is about 2 weeks ago or so on the YouTube channel as well. This man certainly showed us that he is more than a formidable Terran opponent. Now, one thing that I quite like about LowkoTV is that there's a rating history. So real quick for Vanya, you can see that the man has been steadily improving over the course of the last couple of years. And actually, the same can be said as well for MilkiCow. Whereas, like, a lot of the top-level players, they're, I don't want to say stagnant when it comes to their rating, but at the very least, it's kind of, like, flattened off. For these two players, they still seem to be rapidly improving, and since they're already very highly ranked, yeah, definitely players you want to keep in the back of your mind. Looks like we have a standard opener here for the both of them, though, so a Reaper into expansion right here for the Terran player, whereas Zerg already went for the hatchery, into the gas geyser, and then into the spawning pool. I can imagine, since both of these guys are from Russia, that they play against each other quite frequently. I know there's actually quite a few tournaments as well in like Eastern Europe and Russia, where yeah, they face off against each other all of the time. That's kind of like a scene in StarCraft 2 that I don't hear of too often. Like, I know, for example, there's also like a Latin American scene, and there's like also like a, I think they call this like the Oceania area, where it's like, you know, Australia and a bunch of other places around that part in the world. And they're basically like isolated little sections, especially obviously for Latin America and like the Russian region. I don't speak, you know, either of these two languages, any of those languages. So, I mean, even though my name is Lowko, okay, I still, yeah, I don't speak Spanish or Portuguese, none of it. Anyways, so what do we have here? 6 Zergling to begin with, and actually we have a very quick Reaper here, and no SCV Scout either, if I'm not mistaken. So that already kind of is a signal that these two players play against each other regularly, because if this would have been a pool first, MilkiCow could have been in a lot of trouble, because there was no SCV Scout to check if it was a hatchery first. Then if you don't go for a Marine follow-up, if it would be a pool first from the Zerg, there would be a couple of links working at that SCV while the Reaper is on the other side of the map. And there's absolutely nothing to prevent that from happening until like the Reaper has returned home or until these first 2 Hellions are out. Could have already been a disaster here. Instead, though, I think it's working out quite well, because with this quick 3 hatch opener here from the Zerg, link speed is going to be pretty late. It's going to take quite some time here until the Zerg player finishes that. So maybe these 2 Hellions can get some work done. I mean, he's going to have like a, I don't know, like a 20-second timing window. Yeah. It's probably not really going to happen, right? There's still 2 queens here. The choke point here is rather small. There were already 6 Zerglings here at the beginning, which is kind of funny, actually. I've noticed that both Serral and Raynor seem to be favoring 4 Zerglings in the earlier stage of the game, whereas Rogue and Dark, the Korean Zergs... Oh, he's actually going to try. Well, now link speed is done. Okay. He was waiting until 4 Hellions were out. Yeah, I don't like this now. I mean, this looks decent for Terran, but I've seen this go wrong so many times where all of those units just get... Oh, I don't know why those get picked up. He probably control-clicked or something and selected everything on the screen. Oh, everything on the screen. Yeah, so it looks bad right here for the Zerg, but truth be told, right now with 4 less Hellions, Zerg is going to be able to do whatever they like over the course of like the next minute or so, right? Which doesn't sound like a long time, but trust me, at this point, Zerg knows that they will not have to worry themselves with any kind of harassment for at least a little bit. There is going to be a Banshee out, so obviously, you know, he's going to make sure, he's going to have to make sure rather that he's defended against that. I don't know if it was spotted there. I don't think the Overlord saw it, no. But at least right now, yeah, we just see all of the tech coming up. So there's going to be Spore Crawlers, there's going to be Evo Chambers, a Lair. I love it whenever Terran players give me those first couple of Hellions, even though you have to scramble for a bit, maybe overmix some Zerglings for the defense. I like holding down that drone button as a follow-up. All right, so Banshee Cloaking Field finishing up right now. Nice little bit of harassment already. Getting 2 Creep Tumors is not bad at all. That being said, Spore Crawler is out. Obviously, the Spore Crawler has anti-air, but it's also a detector. Until the lair is done and Zerg can go for an Overseer, there's not gonna be any detection. So for the time being, MilkiCow should be able to deal quite a lot of damage. And yeah, just killing Creep Tumors is not bad. That's 7 Creep Tumors, if I counted that correctly. Here's the second Banshee. He's very keen on cloaking them early. I'm not sure why. I guess he really doesn't want to lose them randomly, but seems to me like he's wasting a lot of energy. Not getting a whole lot of worker damage, but I mean, these units are still alive. There's finally the Overseer coming up. So with 2 of these Banshees, you can one-shot drones, which is really nice. There you go. Yeah, it's starting to add up. Especially with the Creep Tumors into the mix as well. That kind of justifies the Hellion throw, I suppose. Anyways, in the meantime, on the other side of the map, MilkiCow has got himself that 3rd CC done. He's going to open up with the triple barracks, transitioning into bio, so a very standard approach. Zerg going into the double upgrades right now as well as the Terran, of course, and he's going to go into the Baneling Nest. So Lair is done. He can definitely go into Aspire if he wants to. He could go Hydras. He could go into Lurkers. He could just stick around on Ling Bane and go straight into Bane speed when the Baneling Nest is done. Although the Baneling Nest here is a little bit late. Not 100% sure why it is delayed. Maybe he was too busy dealing right here with those 2 Banshees. I mean, right now we're at 9 worker kills and they're not done yet. Yeah, this is... Oof. Hello. Okay, yeah, you sleep on the job for a little bit. 13 workers go down. And this is where I feel like those small differences are made, right? So it's really easy to lose a bunch of workers to this. Yet, I feel like if this would be, you know, for example, Serral or Rogue or Dark or Raynor, right? Like any of those tippity top Zerg level guys, they would probably lose like 3 workers here, tops. It's uncommon at the very least to see them losing a dozen workers to, you know, a small amount of units. Wow, it's very common. Below like, you know, the top 5 in the world or so. Anyways. Yeah, Bane speed is not going to be done here anytime soon. I love this siege tank position right here. Beautiful move by MilkiCow. Okay. Ooh, he's going to try and run around. Okay, he will be able to clean this up. That was actually some very committed decision making there. I thought the Queens were going to be needed as well to shoot right there at those Medivacs, but nice move there by Vanya, breaking through that position before it can really get out of control. At the same time, 10 more Marines though, moving towards what seems to be the main base or maybe the 4th base of the Zerg. He did opt to go for the 4th base together with the macro hatchery, which is actually a little bit less common these days. It seems like most Zerg players like to go for a 4th and a 5th at the same time, rather than the macro hatch. Although I know Dark has been going crazy when it comes to the macro hatcheries, like pulling the queens to the front, getting a lot of his, his larva generation, I guess, from just having a bunch of hatches out, which, yeah, it's kind of neat. It's like the way we used to play StarCraft back in 2010, and we're slowly, I don't want to call it evolving, I guess it's devolving back towards a lot of macro hatcheries. It feels like a step backwards anyway. So the follow-up here from Terran is going to be Drilling Claws. So he did open up with a couple of siege tanks, which I love. Opening up with siege tanks is clever against like a lot of those early game Zerg pushes. Right now though, he's going into the Widow Mines instead. That is quite a lot of Banelings. So there's 13 more coming with 24 already around. This is where those siege tanks though are super helpful. Banshee's still alive. This one has now got 19 kills. Okay, the other one did get killed, but... yeah, great game so far here by MilkiCow. I didn't really like the Hellion dive, but other than that, it's been looking very nice for him. Creep spread is also very contained for the 9-minute mark so far. Spore Crawler's going into the main base. Zerg did show this to the Terran player, so the Banshee could theoretically go into the natural expansion. There's still one of them around, but Drilling Claws is going to be really good. So I hope we're going to see some Widowmine drops as a follow-up too. I think Widowmine drops with Drilling Claws are not just good against Protoss, they're very good against Zerg as well. It's one of those moves where you can kind of like scoot in from like this angle and then, you know, you get a lot of work done. He's trying to not commit here with the Banelings. Nicely done. Nicely done. Pick up the tank. You will. Good. Alright. In the meantime, the 6 o'clock position has been acquired by our Terran. He's scanning the main base right now as well, and he confirms indeed that there's a Hive, but also a Lurker den. So no Ultralisks this time around. No Brute Lords either, but that's not too surprising. It's just going to be straight up Ling Bane into Hydra Lurker. All right. So honestly, one thing that I like about transitioning towards lurkers is that it seems that it justifies pretty much all of that tempo advantage that Terran gets, right? So if you deal a lot of damage with Terran in the earlier stage of the game, I don't know if this really counts as like a lot of damage, but if you deal a bunch of damage as Terran in the earlier stage of the game and you find yourself in a advantage. All right. Generally speaking, you can shut down that advantage from the Terran player if you get lurkers out. So he saw the planetary there, decided to go back around. Lurkers really shut down that tempo that Terran creates for themselves. So, despite the fact that I don't think Vanya is in the best of positions here, if he can get himself a bunch of lurkers done... Oh my god, kills the base. Okay, nicely done right there by Terran. Just stands his ground, kills the hatchery itself. Nice. Anyways, usually it can kind of shut down that tempo advantage once you get the lurkers going, but so far it seems like MilkiCow is not really giving his opponent that much of a chance. One problem here, though, for the Terran player is there a Ghost Academy out? No, there's also only a single starport. So usually for the first wave of lurkers, yeah, the first couple of lurkers, you can deal with them by making just a few marauders. At this point, though, it's going to be lurkers that are going to be very well upgraded by the time that Terran is going to have any kind of counter to them. So 3-3 Marauder Marine is pretty good, but 8 lurkers deal a lot of damage. So you've seen them right now. Ghost Academy has started up. 2 additional command centers are also coming up now that the Terran player is close to maxing out. Army in the top corner of the map will be denied. Alright. Here's that Banshee. How many kills does it have? 29 kills! Alright, eventually it goes down. But that was the hero right there of the Terran Dominion. Alright, yeah, so Zerg, even though taking a lot of damage, or even though he took a lot of damage here earlier on, he's now getting all of the upgrades that he wants, and he's got a significant tech advantage. Which is what he's looking for. Like, he didn't die in the process. Creep spread is not looking that great, but he's got a lot of workers out, and... yeah. Despite the fact that Terran did a lot of harassment this game, he lost a lot of units there in the process, too, to try and get that harassment done. And it's not like, Zerg really finds themselves in a bad situation here whatsoever. Okay. So here's that march, right? So there's no lurker counter yet, other than, like, a handful of ghosts. He just decides to march the lurkers into this direction. Fair enough. A lot of damage is being done right here to the planetary fortress. At the same time, I think maybe... oh, that's like 2 lurkers over here, too, getting some work done. Planetary fortress at the 6 o'clock position does get denied. Siege tanks in the back, desperately trying to get some work done. Lings and Banes right now decide to join in with the lurkers, too. You blink once, 36 SCVs go down. And this is the strength of that tech advantage, man. Vanya took a bunch of damage, but never died. Eventually got himself up to, like... I don't know, 5-6 base production. Got himself a ton of upgrades. A few of them are still finishing up, so this army is by no means maxed out just yet. And now he's finding himself in an advantage. Alright. Cool. MilkiCow re-establishing that 6 o'clock base. Also going for the one at the 9 o'clock position. This one is probably not going to be, no. Not going to be done anytime soon. But at the very least, those additional command centers he made a little while ago, they're going to come into play. Right now, though, we are transitioning towards a proper counter, right? So now it's being, a couple of goes being pumped out at once, I think, for the next engagement. It's probably once again going to be lurkers for the Zerg, but I wouldn't be surprised at all to see, like, I don't know, a dozen or so ghosts at that point in the game, too. And with those snipes, you can deal a lot of damage. So real quick, when it comes to the Ghost versus Lurker battles, assuming we have some time to talk about it, and with we, I mean me, Ghosts have an ability called Steady Targeting. And Steady Targeting can be used to basically click it on, for example, one of the Lurkers, and then over the course of like a second and a half, this is a choke point. Oh my god. Oh my god, that's a Zerg meat grinder right over there. Anyways, over the course of like a second and a half, the Ghost will line up a shot and then deal a lot of damage at a very long amount of range. The problem is, if the Ghost takes any damage while Steady Targeting is channeling, the ability is cancelled. So there's a cool dynamic between Ghosts and Lurkers, in the sense that if the Lurkers, you know, deal damage to the Ghost while they're using that ability, they can cancel it, but if they don't, they usually die. Scan? We do need a scan. Okay, there's a couple of snipes lined up. You can kind of see what I mean right there. They took damage in the process. This one will finish, but Lurker will stay alive for a little bit longer. I guess there was no energy there for a scan. Yeah. He's actually only on 3 orbital commands. For this stage in the game, that's really not that much. He needed a scan right there to detect the Lurkers, because obviously they're burrowed units. Zerglings right now. Oof, okay, he does lift the depot in time. By the way, that Zerg meat grinder over here, it wasn't as good as I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to deal a lot of damage, but... yeah, there's not that many siege tank upgrades. +3, +2 are finishing up as well soon for Vanya, who's happily expanding around the map. Now, props to MilkiCow, though, that he still actually got himself 2 new bases up. So he's got the 6 o'clock as well as the 9 o'clock up. This is kind of tricky for a Terran player to pull off, because you need to... this is what I'm talking about. Yeah, that's very good. You need to, like, split your units really nicely. Because obviously, if you leave this base completely alone, then a couple of Lurkers will just kill everything, or a couple of Links and Banes. I mean, that could still happen, but... these bases are pretty far apart. You need to, like... commit your troops in the right position at the right time, whereas Zerg obviously is very quick because of that creep. They can maneuver from one side of the map to the other side pretty easily, even if the distance is, technically speaking, shorter for the Terran. Yeah, so great cycling right here by Vanya, showing an army right here on the left, while simultaneously showing an army right here on the right as well. Those Lurkers are a little bit adventurous, though. Hello, 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 hello. What? Okay, I think they must have been on the wrong control group. I thought he was doing that on purpose, but then, like, all of those Lurkers died. He's trying to kill the Ghost right now. Ghost just running for their lives. Moves once again, done right here by MilkiCow. If he can clean this up right now... I think that was a what? There's 2 drones here harassing a couple of SCVs. If he can clean this up, it's going to be pretty good. That being said, though, there were like 70 plus Zerglings right there on the production tab. These Lings will probably try to kill the siege tanks if they can. Well, Planetary, though, still having a great time. The drones are still harassing SCVs right there in the back. Natural is wide open for now, but MilkiCow does indeed secure it. Yep, he does clean it up. I don't know what happened to those Lurkers, man. They're just going on a little stroll through the Terran base. Sunday afternoon. Just hanging with my boys. Walking through the Terrans. Alright, so once again, these Ghosts... the counter to Ghosts is usually Banelings, which is a little bit funny. Oh, he's using their bodies right here to block as well against the Zerg Banelings. Planetary Fortress taking a lot of damage and will get picked off. And in the meantime, 24 SCVs were killed too. Ghosts, yeah, just step forward. They do a lot of damage, man. Well, this game isn't looking too hot here for MilkiCow. He's showing some very impressive, like, gameplay in general, right? Things maybe seem a little bit disconnected, but he's playing an impressive game of ZVT for sure. Okay, like, this is way too deep. I don't know why we're going this deep onto the creep at this point. I think that might just be way too much Zerg. If these Ghosts die, I don't really see exactly what the Terran player is going to do. He doesn't have enough units here to really reinforce this. Fighting straight onto the creep. There's now more Medivacs than Bio units in total in this game, I'm pretty sure. Okay, that was unnecessary. That was even more unnecessary than losing like 9 Lurkers here. Yeah, okay. We call a single G. Okay. Game number 2 takes us to Romanticide. Maybe MilkiCow kind of overestimated the situation of the Zerg, right? Like, we have full vision of the map and we can see the exact income that both of these players have, but obviously he's dealing with a very limited amount of information. Maybe he assumed that Zerg had way more stuff than he actually did. So he felt like he had to go for like a desperation all-in type of thing after getting a few advantages here and there. I don't think that was really necessary. But obviously he did just lose like 30 plus workers. So in his mind it was probably a little bit more desperate than I believe it was. Either way, we have an SCV moving out. Ooh, okay. There's these 2 mineral, or sorry, these like 3 mineral fields that you can mine out with 2 SCVs. Yeah, okay, I think that's the plan. So He's proxying a couple of barracks right here in the center of the map. Gas coming up pretty early on as well, so... I mean, it could definitely still be... Yeah, it could be Reaper play, could also be Marine play, hard to say. If you want to transition, you obviously do need a little bit of gas. Is it going to be 2 barracks or 3? I think it's just going to be the 2 of them for now. Although you could make the 3rd barracks right here with this SCV that's building the first one. This is in a location that the Zerg probably won't spot, because this Overlord is going to go straight towards, yeah, this little pillar here. Normally it goes straight to like either the ramp or the pillar, so it's going to be out of range here for the Zerg. Second OV will... Okay, it's just going to be parked right here on another pillar. Normally that one checks around this side of the map for proxy barracks, so this is an unlikely location to be scouted. And normally this would be quite far away from the Zerg's main base, but I kind of like it. So he's mining out the mineral field over here. 2 SCVs that are needed for that specific moment. It's just going to be 2 barracks. So this isn't even really that big of a commitment. He can obviously start up a factory right here at the top of the ramp as well once he reaches 100 gas. Alright, there's bunker number 1 coming up. He's going to go for a second bunker as well. Can't really afford it at this point in the game. Losing this Overlord would really suck, Vanya. Is he going to try and kill it? I mean, that Marine is just kind of idling by it. Okay, now he's just going to try and go and secure this expansion instead. Go big or go home. There's the drones pulled away from the main. They need to get the surround right here on these Marines if they want to kill it. Okay. 4 workers going down so far, and these those Marines are still basically unharmed. At the very least, the bunker won't be finishing, which is something. Zerglings are out right now too. Nice targeting here once again by MilkiCow, trying to, yep. Ooh. Deal damage right here to the low hit point ones. I actually really like that he's mixing in a Reaper right now. We're going from Marines into Reaper cheese? Okay, and GG is just cold. Huh. So he lost way too many workers here, but normally we see either Marines or Reapers. Not both of them. Alrighty. And after about a 2-minute long game, we find ourselves on Oxide, the final map of today's Best of 3 series. Now, I don't know the exact specifics for Terran build orders, but I can tell you that with Zerg, say for example, right, you're opening up with 5 roaches. The standard way to spend your gas is first off, obviously, you buy 5 roaches. Then you go for 1 Ravager and eventually Zergling speed. However, if while you're harassing on the other side of the map, you see that your Terran opponent is not doing a very good job, you can, rather than go for Zergling speed, make it like a Zerg all-in-ish and morph in a second Ravager instead. Right, so maybe that's what MilkiCow saw in the previous game, where he's like, well, you lost like 4 drones right there to my first 3 Marines. Normally, I would go for a factory right now, which would cost me 100 gas, but instead I'm going to follow it up with 2 Reapers. I don't know if that's what happened, but it kind of felt like that, where I'm not 100% sure what Vanya could have done differently there. Well, I mean, other than like defend against the Marines a little bit better and like do a better job against those, but the follow-up right there was pretty cool. Not really something I've seen, going Marines into Reapers. Alright, anyways. We find ourselves on Oxide, and it's gonna be a pool first. Okay, so I brought this up in the first game, right? Where if the Terran player once again decides to skip the SCV scout and just go straight into a Reaper to watch the other side of the map, that would be a disaster. But already there is a Shift Q command right there for that SCV to go straight across the map. And actually, it's even gonna be a reactor right now as a follow-up. So I hate to break it to Vanya right here, but these 6 Zerglings, they're not going to be able to achieve anything. There's going to be a bunch of Marines out, assuming he's going to pump out Marines at the very least. He should. He's going to have more than enough to defend against those Zerglings if everything goes according to plan. Is the SCV going to be able to spot this? Sees the tail end right there of the Zerglings leaving for the other side of the map. One, if you didn't spot it, obviously, you saw the timing right there of the hatchery, and now, obviously, also the Zerglings that decided to turn around. Vanya splitting up the links a little bit here, because he doesn't know if it's going to be a Reaper opener here from his opponent until right about right now. He has spotted the reactor here, so rather than going for the high ground, I guess he's trying to fly the Overlord away. Fair enough. Factory here is a follow-up too, but here's the 2 Marines out. I mean, he loses 1 SCV, so that's something. He does need to pull a couple of the boys from the main, yeah. They need to tank a little bit of the damage until the 3rd and the 4th Marine are out. Okay. Yep, good start right here for MilkiCow. I mean, it's more like a skill check, right? Both of these players saying, I want to play the macro game, but if I can kill you right now, I will. Right? I will try. See how you defend against this. What's going on, Queen? Yes, Queen. Anyways, that's the first time I've ever said that in a video. Starport comes up. Classical 1-1-1 right now as a follow-up, but with quite a few Marines. Curious to see if Vanya's going to play a Roach Ravager on this map, or if he decides to go for, like, Ling Bane. You can play both Ling Bane as well as Roach Ravager, although it seems that the top-of-the-line Zerg players have all decided that, yeah, you can play Ling Bane, but you should probably play a Roach Ravager here instead. As a matter of fact, actually, Roach Ravager has kind of become really popular again. I know this particular series was played a little while ago. I mean, it doesn't really matter. It's still the same map pool and the same patch and all that, so. But, like, over the last couple of weeks especially, this meta, or de-meta rather, for Terran versus Zerg, at least over in Korea, has been very Roach Ravager based. Usually with Roach Ravager, you go for... Ooh, he wants to go around. So cheeky. Normally with Roach Ravager, you start up the Roach Warren right about right now. 4 minutes. No, it's going to be a Baling Nest. Okay. Either a Baling Nest or a Roach Warren is fine. This is kind of cool, though. Yeah, so we have... Is there an armory? I don't think there is an armory. No, there's no armory. So it's just going to be Hellions on the left, Marines in the main base. Something like that. At least he's going to be able to get a couple Overlords, I believe. Ooh, Hellions. Okay. Tried to get by there, but didn't pull it off. Decides to go Cloaking upgrade once again as well. Depot right there at the front reveals to the Zerg player that it's going to be a classical 1-1-1 and not a quick 3rd CC. Enough Zerglings out over here. Enough Queens out as well. Yep. So we're just transitioning towards a normal macro game. Spore Crawlers coming up. Maybe a little bit late, but since there was a medevac produced first. Actually, no, it's perfect. Normally you go 4.5 minutes on the Spore Crawler. I actually really love that Vanya decided to go for the Spores. I can't... Ooh. Okay. I can imagine a lot of Zerg players skipping the Spore Crawlers because they've seen a medevac first. Normally if you go Banshees, you cut them out really quickly. Okay, that was good. That was very nice. Okay. Don't lose the medevac. Yeah, so obviously this was damage pre, like, Banshees, right? In game number 1, we saw most of the damage happening after the Banshees came out. So it's a little bit different. Okay. So we're going 4 gases here as Zerg. These do have to be added back into the gas as well. A couple of drones there. 4th hatch. Are we gonna go macro hatchery again? I guess so. We'll see in a second. Bailing speed starts up a little bit sooner this time around. Alright, now the 3rd CC is quite late, and actually a couple Marines here are stuck as well. It's gonna have to lift up one of those structures to get it out. Banshee harassment. I'd like to see not a dozen drones going down to these. There should be Overseers. Well, there are. They're coming right now anyway. Yeah, very nicely done right here by MilkiCow. Not giving these Banshees away either, right? There's a lot of players that are a little bit too liberal. Okay, well, I say that, then obviously right away. I believe they refer to that as the caster curse. I was gonna compliment him on keeping those things alive for a long time and stuff so they could still help out. Never mind. Never mind all that. So this map does have a couple of great choke points. So this choke point over here is fantastic. This choke point over here is really good. This choke point over here is really nice as well. There's rocks over here. Basically what I'm trying to get at is that siege tanks are really nice. You have a lot of great positions for siege tanks. Is once again Zerg gonna try and clean this up really aggressively like he did in game number 1. I think he is. Yep, just like on 2000 Atmos. Kills the siege tank here before this army can really get into position. It's aggressive, but it seems to work out. There's the macro hatchery once again, so definitely a bit of a theme. Second factory. pretty quick, isn't it? 4 CC starts up as well. Yeah, so like Ling Bane, it's good on this map, but there's a lot of paths to spread creep to. And it can be quite difficult to keep track of everything that's going on. So when it comes to average actions per minute, you can see that Vanya is already playing pretty quick. He's gonna have to speed up though, if he wants to keep track on everything that's going on here. Probably need like 400 at least. But he can pull that off for sure. Okay. Very deep off of creep. Nice control here so far by the Terran, but yeah. Does need to split those Marines if he wants to keep all of them alive. Now, obviously, he will simultaneously microing up there. Ooh, targeting the Banelings this time around. Nicely done there. We're only at +1. Oh, that's bad. What happened here? So, 2-2 is coming up for Terran. Zerg is going Infestation Pit right now, but normally Infestation Pit goes hand in hand with 2-2 starting up for the Zerg. Right now, we're only at +1 melee, and there's no Carapace and no +2 started. Maybe he's feeling like he has to spend his money right here on units instead, but this is starting to make me a little bit anxious. In these, like, low-tech armies, right? So Marine against Ling-based forces. Upgrades are absolute king. There's still no 2-2. Where is it? Okay, well, that helps. Okay. 2 Medivacs get killed. Vanya making 6 Overlords right now as well. Continues droning. We really... He goes Hive? He goes Hive before 2-2. But, like, this is not even a quick Hive. Okay. So MilkiCow doesn't know it, but he is gonna have himself an absolute blast, assuming he goes into 3-3 right away when 2-2 finishes. He's gonna be so far ahead on those upgrades, it's gonna be nasty. All those Marines are just gonna be able to deal so much damage. Base at 6 o'clock right now, morphing into a planetary fortress. I mean, there's also no Hydra Den, right? So, like, I don't... Like, if he goes... What do you go for? Do you go Ultras? Ultras without Carapace upgrades? Ultras really suck in general, but especially without Carapace upgrades, they like die really quickly. I don't understand what's going on here. There's no Hydra Den, no Lurker Den. There's no Spire either, so if he was thinking about going Greater Spire, that's not an option. Maybe he wants to get Vipers out? Lingbane Vipe? No. Overlord speed. Okay. Guess because these Ovis are in a lot of trouble. So Hive is done. I'm sorry, I'm really hammering on this, but like it is a major misplay, unless I'm missing something. That's a bit painful. Marines over here trying to get some work done. Zerg is setting up what seems to be a massive... Oh, I thought surround, but instead he decides to go for a huge run-by. Terran actually is caught completely with their pants down. Army in the top left, though. Yeah, these siege tanks here are having an absolute blast. Pun, well, I guess intended. Sure, I'll go with that. A couple of Lings right now even run up towards the Natural Expo 2. At the same time, base in the top left-hand corner, though, completely left to its own. +3/+3 has started up for MilkiCow here. Zerg still only at +1 melee. Looks like there's enough bio army, though, for the Zerg, like biological Zerg units. I guess that works. Totally didn't misspeak there. There's enough bio units available here for the Zerg player to push back those Marines on the creep. It's trying to set up another run-by, but not really happening here. Yeah, these Marines, man. Like, without upgrades, I just, like, oh, this is so weird. Adrenal glands together with +2/+1, so finally he's realized that his upgrades are lacking. Maybe that's also why he's decided to move so deep off of creep. Great splitting right there by the Terran player. Simultaneously, though, there are a couple of Zerglings over at the base here. But they're just going to mostly be able to kill with Zergling and, I guess, 4 SCVs. All right. So if the game goes to distance, it doesn't really matter too much because eventually those upgrades will all be evened up. But 3-3 against, like, +1 Carapace is... It makes such a massive difference. Now, Adrenal Glands is nice. I don't really know exactly how it works out, but Adrenal Glands basically is like a 40% or so attack speed increase for Zerglings. Now, obviously, that attack upgrade would trigger more often, right? So normally we see the +3 coming up at the same time as Adrenal Gland. So there's the Ultra Cavern. Yeah, I must have clicked on the structure and assumed that he was coming up. Or that it was coming up and then, like, I don't know. It's very easy to, like, have a bit of a blackout, right? When you're playing a game like this. Alright. 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 Vanya still has very nice eco, though. He's got a lot of bases taken. Bottom right-hand corner. Accounted for as well. MilkiCow right now taking a 9 o'clock. He does need to capitalize on this, right? So, like, if he doesn't capitalize on it, he's gonna be in a weird spot. So 3-3 is starting up, or is finishing up right now. I would love to see an all-out assault through the center of the map. Like, rather than these small hit squads. Well, I guess if you can kill a base, that's nice. But I would love to see an all-out assault. Like, I feel like if this would be, like, Hero Marine, for example, he would have everything unsieged other than, like, maybe this one tank and just go straight for a push through the center. It's difficult to do. His army really doesn't seem that big, though. I don't really know exactly where everything is at. Oh, there's a blinding cloud. Oh, no. I thought I was... Wait, were there Vipers? Oh, there are a couple Vipers, but they're not over here. Oh, my God. He actually kills the Planetary Fortress right now. Vanya showing us that apparently even without upgrades, those Zerglings are still dealing a lot of damage when the opponent's army is just not as big as it should be. MilkiCow currently sitting with 3,000 resources in the bank. That's where a lot of that money is. That's where a lot of that army should have been, I guess. Ultra Cavern starts a couple of the Ultralisks as well, but no chitinous plating. Chitinous plating is like a necessary thing, okay? It gives the Ultras +2 armor. I think it's +2, right? It used to be like +4 way back in the day, but they changed it a little bit. I think it's +2. Anyways. Speaking of +2, there it is. So one thing also to assume, right, is that MilkiCow actually clicked on those Zerglings to figure out what their upgrades were. So I've been making the assumption here for a little while that he knows that his opponent hasn't been upgrading. Because he should know. But it's one of those things that is very easily skipped. So maybe he doesn't realize that he is very far ahead right now when it comes to the upgrades. I mean, that upgrade lead is going to be nullified over the course of the next, I don't know, 3-4 minutes. There's chitinous plating. High-sec auto-tracking as well, finishing up for the Terran. Which is an upgrade for the... there's the parasitic bomb. It's an upgrade for the Terrans... what are they called? The planetaries and the missile turrets to get a little bit more ranged. Ghost Academy comes up too. Okay. So he sees a couple of Ultras. Okay. So there was a definite lead here for MilkiCow. And a definite opportunity for him to win the game. That window is quickly dwindling. It's also because Vanya has been relentless, though, with these counterattacks, right? So every single time MilkiCow is thinking about going for a push, there comes the Zerg army. And obviously this Zerg army is going to be able to kill this base and be back home as well to defend against the rest of that Terran force. 24 drones, though, end up going down here. I guess to mostly the Liberators? Okay, Widowmine drop over here too. Okay, so Widowmine drop on the right side of the map also kills 11 of those bad boys. Ultras, though. Ooh, dealing quite a lot of damage. Marines and Marauders, good for now. Wouldn't mind seeing a transition towards more Liberators. Or maybe a couple of Ghosts here as well. Widowmines are going to be able to connect again. 3 additional workers go down. Not a lot of anti-air available for the Zerg. Eventually the Queens will get the final hit in. Bit of overkill there because Parasitic Bomb would have killed it regardless. All right. MilkiCow trying to bite back right now. Gets an expo. Really nicely done. Wouldn't mind seeing a lift up. Okay, he's trying to bait the units right now into the Widow Mines. Could have been a really big Widow Mine hit. Splits off the units that are inside of the medevacs from the medevacs that are empty. Sends them into the main base to continue their harassment for a little while longer. Spawning pool actually very exposed right now as well. Spawning pool obviously allows you to make Zerglings. Queens, spine crawlers, spore crawlers, layers, that sort of thing. So the very basic Zerg stuff needs a new spawning pool. And spawning pool actually takes quite a long time to produce. Guess for now we're just gonna see more Ultralisk then? Yeah, Vipers, Ultras, that sort of thing. One SCV scouting across the map. Okay. More Liberators and Ghosts coming up. So he's going both Ghosts as well as Liberators to counter Ultras. Normally we see one of the two. I mean, Liberators are obviously good as well, but you do have to make sure you have enough bio army too. Can't be squished. You do have to make sure you have enough Marines and Marauders as a backbone, because otherwise it's just not good enough. Widow Mine's now also added into the mix. Oof. Still no 3-3, by the way. I want to shut up about upgrades. I'll show you after the game, okay, why upgrades are so good. Okay. A lot of damage being done once again. Chaos everywhere. That Ultra is not going to do very well. Cloaking Field is going to finish up as well once again for both the Banshees as well as the Ghosts. And yes, that's the same icon. Blizzard probably meant to update that back in the Wings of Liberty beta. But they never did. They never bothered changing the icons for that. Zerglings once again heading on over towards the third. Siege tank here in like a beautiful entrenched position, by the way, especially with the depots up. This siege tank, yeah, it's actually responsible for a lot of kills. Maybe including some of the Terran kills too, but... or some of the kills on Terran units, rather. Vanya, though, bleeding out. If you look right here at the cost efficiency... even though he's been mining a ton of minerals this game, he's slowly drying up. There's not that much money anymore for him. That Liberator harassment here, which I was a little bit questionable of earlier, right? Like, I wasn't sure if that was the best choice. It's really piled under pressure. Planetary in the bottom right-hand corner makes his army look quite formidable. Okay, a couple of Ghosts get abducted, but there's really not that much here available for the Zerg player to follow this up. GG is called. And it is going to be our Terran player who obtains the victory. Alright, so real quick, just to show you the strength of upgrades, right? So right here on the left, we've got ourselves 60 supply worth of Terran. So that's 30 Marines, 10 Marauders, and 5 Medivacs. And right here on the right, we have 120 Zerglings, which is 60 supply worth of Zerg. Now here's the kicker though. The Zerglings just have +1 melee, right? Kind of like what we saw in the game just now. And right here on the left, we have the Bio Army at +3/+3. Zerglings have link speed, but they do not have adrenal glands. The Marines do have combat shields, as well as Stimpack, but I'm not going to use Stimpack just because I don't really want to, like, you know, it's going to skew the results. Anyways, I'm going to just go ahead and select the Zerglings right here, and I'll tech move them right behind this Terran army, and we'll see how it goes. It's not going to go very well. If you're the Zerg player here, anyway. So, Terran lost absolutely nothing. What I'm going to change now is I'm going to give these Zerg units +3/+3 as well as adrenal glands. So same situation, except the upgrades right now are even, and Zerg has, you know, adrenal glands as well. See how it goes this time around. You see what I mean? Upgrades are good. Please get them. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed watching this video. If you did, make sure you hit that like button down below. Now, real quick, in case you're unfamiliar, I have a second YouTube channel, which is where I post completed games that I have streamed on Twitch. If you go to youtube.com/morelowko, there's a link down below in the description, or you can obviously click the screen right now. Click my face with the little 2 right next to it. You'll be taken there over to that channel as well, and you can go check it out. Anyways, for now, thanks for watching. Have a great day. Don't forget to smile, and I'll see you once again in the next one.